To the homie Big Suge. What's poppin', big homie? Appreciate you. To all my subscribers and YouTubers, man. To all the people out there just chilling. Ain't really got nothing to do. But you're scrolling through. And you decided to kick it with me for this evening. We're gonna get into a good topic of discussion, man. And I go by the name of No Face the Rambler. And I appreciate you for tuning in, because we're about to go all the way live. And we got to get real deep with this discussion. And this is homage to the homie Suge Knight. Now the topic of discussion of the day is I ask myself, and I propose the question to others: do you think it's possible, or could you either fathom, that the establishment, the white establishment that is, basically hijacked, pillaged, and robbed Death Row Records from Suge Knight, painting a very bad picture of Suge Knight? With though, to his credit, he really did help. But along with the help of propaganda and various other news articles, news outlets, basically all fall under the same umbrella of propaganda, painted Suge in a very bad picture. And I'm gonna break that down to you. You know what I mean? If you look back in the history, man, especially how this country was built. I'm not getting off into slavery or no topics like that. We're just talking about the fundamentals of how this country was built. This country was built by robbery, deception, war, and taking possessions from other people and other regions by force. That's America for you. That's America for you. We fast forward to the 20s and the 30s with the surgence and the ushering in of the Italian immigrants, the Jewish immigrants, the Irish immigrants, who all band together in their barrios, in their communities, what we know today as the ghetto. And they form an underworld. They extorted, and they took what they wanted by brute force. They didn't hold any punches. Whatever they wanted, whatever they seek, whatever they sought after, whatever they desired, they took. Now, in the midst of that, early 20s, 30s, going to the 40s, hell, even all the way up to the 60s, blacks in America were confined to the slums. They were funneled in communities that were way below the poverty line, that you wouldn't even call the ghetto. However, the blacks in those communities had a desire and had a need to create something for themselves. And you had other blacks in that community who took chapters from the surges, the immigrants that was ushered into this country. Italians, Jews, Irish. And they band together and began to form a family, a second family, an underworld for themselves, i.e. the numbers game, Harlem, and the difference between the blacks and the others that were ushered in through immigration was the combination in the construction of the system of a color-coded society, wherein the white establishment recruited Italians, Jews, and Irish and labeled them Euros. Labeled them Euros. Now, we all know the history of the Crips and the Bloods in Los Angeles, California. How the brothers and the founders, Raymond Washington, rest in peace, Tookie Williams, rest in peace, Sylvester Scott, Vincent Owen, the founders of the Pirus, rest in peace. How they all birthed from the ashes of the Black Panther Party. And how the jobs in that particular section of LA were snatched and took out of those black communities and left the individuals in the black community in shambles, because all the black men in the community knew how to do was skilled work, working with their hands, and that was snatched from them, which opened up a gap of unemployment where black men wasn't able to provide for their families. They didn't have the scholastic knowledge or the book smarts, and at their age at that time, nor the time invested in an attempt to get what we would call a formal education. They weren't able to achieve that. And everything else began to just unleash on them. The heroin epidemic, prostitution, pimping, you name it. Everything was just unleashed on the black ghetto, and in particularly in Los Angeles. And through that, with no identity to latch onto, but just memories of their forefathers in the Black Panther Party who were assassinated, exiled, incarcerated, and exterminated on every level. Out of the ashes came the Bloods and the Crips. With these youths in these communities in Los Angeles who really had nothing to do, no type of social program, nowhere to really go and just learn or do anything constructive, they began to self-destruct. And in the late 70s and in the early 80s, we had the crack epidemic, in which we all know the story of Free Ray Ricky Ross and how the gangs in LA really thrived and made money off of that. And out of that threshold, out of that environment, out of that hell, emerges a prominent figure of hope, Marion Suge Knight, a football star. For whatever reason, couldn't play football anymore. So he used his brute force and became a bodyguard for various musical acts and talents that was prominent in the late 80s, early 90s. And through that, Suge Knight was able to see the bigger picture. Was able to see the bigger picture. He didn't look at his set, the Mob Piru, or the other sets around him, Crip and Blood sets, as just gang members, as just trash. He was able to identify them as a mafia family for the underworld and that community. And the same tactics that Suge Knight used to reign in this prominent in the construction of Death Row Records was no different than what the Italian Mafia, the Irish Mafia, and the Jewish Mafia did to plant their mark in this American soil and thrive. Suge Knight imitated that and did that. And that was a huge problem. That was a huge problem for the white establishment. Because he was black. He was black. And he was rising to the ranks of his own distribution deals. $500 million company, almost reaching to the billions. He was able to sit and eat at that table and dictate and control his own. A self-made alpha black male that the white establishment had a problem with, and it was not feeling. And it had to insult to injury in the height of Death Row Records' success. Suge Knight has the gall to reach out to the late great Tupac Shakur, may he rest in peace. A revolutionary / gangster rapper, and catapult Tupac Shakur's career to Michael Jackson levels. He made Tupac an international star, and Tupac had a message, and the white establishment did not like that. And to show proof to what I'm saying, I'm not going to elaborate in the killing of Tupac, the assassination, whatever you want to call it. We're just going to talk about the fight with Baby Lane, aka Orlando Anderson, at the MGM that night in Las Vegas. Here with the prominent Suge Knight, who participated in jumping Orlando Anderson, where Suge Knight was seen on camera kicking him. And to show you how the white establishment hated and wanted what every Suge Knight has required and created for himself and built for himself. Keep in mind, Orlando Anderson didn't have to go to the hospital. Orlando Anderson didn't suffer major injuries. Hell, I don't even think he suffered minor injuries, because Baby Lane was a G. Rest in peace. But off that kick alone, that was an automatic violation for Suge Knight. And he was sentenced from 5 to 9 years on a probation violation for kicking somebody. For kicking somebody. Not a dirty urine. Not a new charge. Not assault with a deadly weapon. Not assault with intent to kill or intent to maim somebody, but just a kick. 5 to 9 years. Probation violation. Wow. And that was the tool that the white establishment used to begin to get their grips into the death row empire. So we all know the story. Tupac dies. Suge Knight comes home. And during his incarceration, the white establishment started to seek their claws in the death row empire, taking piece by piece. He started, Suge Knight started beefing with his ex-wife. His ex-girlfriend, she was doing some shady shit in the background, controlling the money, spending the money. So basically, when Suge Knight came home in 2000, it wasn't the same. He didn't have access to the same amount of money that he had. And he was being watched, he was being monitored, he was being stalked, he was being followed by police, FBI, CIA agents on a day-to-day basis. His movements were tracked. And at that time, really, they kind of stripped everything from Suge Knight. However, Suge Knight's presence in the streets of Compton and in the streets of LA still resonated. Off his name, individuals would fuck with him. He was admired and hated at the same time. Which we fast forward to the 2015 incident with Suge Knight, and only Suge Knight, clearly in a self-defense case. But being that he's Suge Knight, a self-made black man, it turns into murder. He's fighting for his life now. Because for a self-defense case, clearly, he's going to get life imprisonment, which they're going to switch from self-defense to murder. And it's deep. When you look at this man's life and what he created and what was robbed and what was taken from him, and the explanation for taking $500 million from Suge Knight is mismanagement and the fact that, he's just a certified gangster. Which is bullshit, and I call bullshit on that. Because let's not forget the Italian mob figures that built Las Vegas and Atlantic City. And those establishments thrive to this day. And people in the underworld of Italian ethnicity still get paid from that. Or how the Jewish mafia created Hollywood. And there's people in the underworld of the Jewish mafia that still get paid from that. Let's not forget that. And let's look at what they did to Suge Knight. Because they felt that there's no way an alpha black male should have that much power. There's no way in hell. And they took that and they stripped it and they robbed it from him. And black people, the majority, are so deaf, dumb, and blind. They can't even see the delusion. They can't even see the propaganda tricks that the establishment displayed and how they played Suge Knight. And they have us so brainwashed to the point that a majority of us really think that Suge Knight's a fucked up individual. Or he's a devil. He's self-made. What was done to Suge Knight mirrored what was done to Master P with the rise of Cash Money Records to counteract No Limit. what was done to Master P and Suge Knight was mirrored to Dame Dash, where the establishment played Jay-Z, got in Jay-Z's ear, and took him away from Dame and snatched his company from up under him. Because the establishment has a problem with alpha black males making power moves. And this is what you have to understand, people. As black men in America, it's okay if you reach 1 to 6 million. In a society, hey, you're a success story. You're a poster child for success story. When you make 10 to 20 million, you're definitely somebody to idolize. You're definitely somebody to idolize. But when you're a self-made alpha black male and you reach 500 million, going towards $1 billion, that's a fucking problem in this society. The establishment would not allow that to happen. If you don't believe me, ask Suge Knight, ask Master P, ask Dame Dash. Snowface the Rambler, I appreciate you for tuning in with me today. And I appreciate you for lending me your ears. I hope this was a video that you can get something from, because this is something that's been on my mind that I just decided to share with you today. It's 2017, 2018 to infinity from now on. It's pro love or no love. No face the Rambler. I'm out. Peace.